The film takes place in Gotham City in 1981. The protagonist, Arthur Fleck, works as a clown for hire for a company called Ha-Ha's. He suffers from extreme depression on a personal level, but finds solace in performing for others and making them laugh. He has been assigned with advertising a store by dancing and waving a sign around in order to attract people's attention. On one occasion, a bunch of punk youths steal the sign from Arthur, leading him to chase them down the street into an alley. They smash the sign against his face and then savagely kick him while he's down. During this time period, Gotham City is facing challenges related to high crime rates, joblessness, and poverty. Arthur seeks help from a social worker for his medications and ongoing mental health struggles. While on the bus back home, a young child catches Arthur's attention. He tries to entertain the boy by making funny faces, but the child's mother becomes uncomfortable with Arthur and asks him to stop interacting with her son. Arthur suddenly bursts into uncontrollable and hysterical laughter. When the mother inquires about his behavior, he hands her a card explaining that he suffers from a mental condition that causes his excessive laughter. Arthur returns back to a tall building complex where he resides and takes care of his sick mother, Penny. They have dinner together and then watch a television talk show hosted by a man named Murray Franklin. Arthur daydreams about appearing on the show and capturing Murray's interest. In his fantasy, Arthur captivates the audience and Murray by mentioning his role as a caregiver for his mother. Murray feels a connection with Arthur and invites him onto the stage in front of everyone, where they share a warm embrace. It is disclosed that Penny used to be employed by Thomas Wayne and is fixated on the wealthy man, currently writing letters to him in the hopes of improving their living situation. At Ha-Ha's, Arthur receives a gun from his co-worker Randall for protection following news of a mugging incident. Despite firearms being prohibited at work, Arthur hesitantly accepts the gift, feeling a mix of reluctance and relief. Despite the workplace rules, Arthur's confidence starts to increase once he has the weapon in his possession. Unfortunately, shortly after this, his boss, who is described as cold and unsympathetic, confronts him about losing the sign and deducts the cost from his pay. Arthur's only response is a bitter smile. Arthur meets his neighbor, a single mother named Sophie Dumond, and is immediately taken with her. They have conversations about topics that resonate with him, but he struggles to impress her and comes off as awkward. He starts following her at one point, observing her while she takes her daughter to school and while heading to work. In an effort to improve his own comedy, Arthur watches other comedians perform, but appears out of place as his laughter feels forced and exaggerated. Later, Sophie visits Arthur's apartment and confronts him about following her, to which he confesses. Despite his admission, she is not put off and instead accepts his invitation to a stand-up comedy show he is part of. Arthur later visits a children's hospital to entertain the kids in his clown persona. Unfortunately, his gun, which is in his pocket, slips out when he begins dancing for the children. His boss berates him for bringing a weapon to work. Despite Arthur's pleas for forgiveness and a second chance, his boss decides to terminate his employment immediately. Arthur, who is still dressed in his clown outfit, takes the subway home from work and witnesses 3 intoxicated young men affiliated with Wayne Enterprises harassing a woman. Involuntarily, Arthur begins to laugh, which captures the attention of the men, prompting the woman to flee. The men approach Arthur, taunting him for his laughter, leading to a physical altercation where they overpower and brutally assault him. Fed up with the violence, Arthur defends himself by using his gun to shoot 2 of the attackers in self-defense. He then pursues the third man out of the train, ultimately killing him on the stairs as he begs Arthur not to shoot him. Shocked by his actions, Arthur seeks refuge in a public men's restroom nearby. As he reflects on his impulsive behavior, he feels a surge of energy building up inside him and spontaneously starts dancing alone. Looking at his reflection in the grimy mirror, he sees a disheveled yet empowered clown staring back at him and slowly starts accepting this new persona. Concealing the weapon, he then heads back to the apartment complex where he meets with Sophie, and they share a kiss. The following day, Arthur clears out his belongings at Ha-Ha's after confronting Randall about his betrayal and damaging the clock-in device. He exits the scene feeling uplifted and liberated. That evening, Arthur is delighted to hear news of the 3 killings spreading, with some interpreting it as an assault on the wealthy, while others express support for the incident. Thomas Wayne publicly addresses the issue and criticizes it, referring to the lower class as clowns, a term they adopt as their symbol. Arthur heads to the comedy club to do his act. He is overwhelmed by his nerves, and as a way to manage it, he starts laughing uncontrollably, making it difficult for him to speak. He then starts his routine, which isn't very amusing. Sophie is present in the crowd, the only one finding Arthur's jokes funny. This boosts his confidence and allows him to keep joking despite his inner struggles. Media coverage shows clown rioters demonstrating throughout the city and causing chaos. Arthur acknowledges that he inadvertently triggered these events and starts to recognize his own capabilities, bringing him genuine joy. Arthur discovers one of Penny's letters to Thomas, revealing that he is Thomas's son. Arthur becomes agitated and begs his mother if what he's read is true. His mother confirms his suspicions. Arthur travels via train to Wayne Manor alone, where he meets young Bruce Wayne. After impressing Bruce with a magic trick, he tries to connect with him despite the uncertainty of their potential relationship as brothers. Alfred steps in to stop Arthur and advises him to leave. Arthur talks about his mother's past with Thomas, to which Alfred responds that Penny was not truthful. A confrontation between Arthur and Alfred escalates momentarily before Arthur realizes Bruce is witnessing the altercation. He regains composure and leaves Wayne Manor. As Arthur returns home to his apartment, he notices emergency vehicles outside his complex and realizes that the patient the paramedics are transporting is his mother. Arthur gets into the ambulance and stays with his mother until they reach the hospital. While he waits for news on her condition, Arthur walks outside of the hospital to have a smoke. It is here where Arthur gets confronted by 2 detectives, Burke and Garrity, who inquire about the murders of the 3 men on the subway. The detectives ask about Arthur's recent firing from Ha-Ha's and about the gun he dropped while performing at the hospital. Arthur responds by saying the gun was a prop for an act and that he was let off from the company for not being funny enough. Arthur then abruptly leaves. Sophie stays by Arthur's side as he cares for his mother. While in the hospital, Arthur notices that Murray's television program is broadcasting a segment from his comedy routine, but he is saddened to realize that Murray displayed it in a mocking manner. Returning back to his apartment, Arthur turns on the TV and watches as a clip of Thomas Wayne is played. It is then that Arthur learns that Mr. Wayne is planning on attending a public art theater event. Arthur gains access to the theater by pretending to be an usher. He shadows Thomas Wayne into a restroom and attempts to confront him about possibly being his father. Arthur brings up Penny, whom Thomas also recalls. While Thomas admits that Penny used to work for him as part of his housekeeping staff, he insists that she was delusional, and there is no chance that Arthur is his son. Thomas also reveals that Penny never informed Arthur of his adoption, a fact that Arthur vehemently denies before erupting into uncontrollable laughter in Thomas's presence. Unaware of Arthur's mental condition, Thomas reacts defensively and strikes Arthur before having him ejected from the premises. Arthur returns home, where he torments himself by repeatedly banging his head against the refrigerator in a state of despair and yearning. Arthur is contacted by someone working for Murray's program and is asked to be a guest, which he agrees to somewhat reluctantly. Seeking concrete truth, Arthur visits Arkham Asylum and talks to a clerk named Carl, who possesses a file about Penny. When Carl refuses to provide the information Arthur seeks, Arthur takes the file and escapes to examine it. After finding a secluded spot in a stairwell, Arthur opens the documents and discovers that Thomas was speaking the truth based on the information in the file. The truth revealed in the documents is that Penny adopted Arthur after he was abandoned. Discovered as an infant, he was neglected and mistreated by being restrained to a radiator and physically assaulted by his cruel girlfriend. The documents indicate that Arthur suffered a head injury, which probably led to his uncontrollable laughter. Arthur returns to his residence and enters Sophie's apartment without permission. Upon seeing him, Sophie is frightened and pleads for him to leave for the safety of her daughter. Arthur questions her if she has experienced a particularly difficult day, to which she responds mentioning their lack of acquaintance. This implies that previous interactions involving Sophie were only imagined by Arthur. Feeling remorseful and distressed, Arthur apologizes for his actions and exits Sophie's apartment in a rage, leaving her in solitude. Upon revisiting the hospital, Arthur confesses to Penny that he used to think his life was full of misery, but now he views it as
It's a fucking comedy.
Consequently, he suffocates Penny to her demise. Arthur prepares for his appearance on Murray's show by applying white face paint. He is visited in his apartment by Randall and another former co-worker, Gary, who offer their condolences for Penny's death. Randall then brings up Burke and Garrity, questioning them about the subway murders, making Arthur realize Randall's ulterior motives. Arthur lashes out, stabbing Randall in the face and slamming his head against the wall. A frightened Gary questions Arthur's actions and pleads to leave. Arthur agrees, teasing Gary before allowing him to go. Gary struggles to unlock the door due to his height, prompting Arthur to open it for him. Before Gary leaves, Arthur thanks him for being the only person to show kindness towards him, kissing his forehead as a gesture of appreciation. Arthur decides to dye his hair green, apply full clown makeup, and wear a burgundy suit. He joyfully dances down the stairs, fully embracing his craziness and carefree lifestyle. Burke and Garrity spot Arthur dancing in the street and move in to apprehend him. Arthur flees, leading them on a chase into the subway, where many other Gotham residents, inspired by recent murders, are also dressed as clowns. Arthur puts on a clown mask to disguise himself, taken from a protester, inadvertently causing a commotion in the subway cars. While the detectives pursue Arthur, a clown intervenes, and Burke accidentally shoots him dead during a struggle for his gun. The clowns then drag the detectives out of the subway and begin to violently attack them, giving Arthur the opportunity to escape unnoticed amidst the chaos of the police presence in the area. Arthur meets Murray and his agent Jean at the TV station. He requests Murray to introduce him as Joker before going on air, as Murray had previously referred to him as such. Murray questions Arthur about any political meanings behind his clown makeup, to which Arthur responds that he does not believe in any agendas. While waiting to be introduced, Arthur watches a clip of himself struggling to tell a joke on Murray's broadcast. This leads to a shift in Arthur's mindset and plans, prompting him to dance out into the spotlight as the show begins. He awkwardly shares a joke with Murray, who finds it funny for its dark humor even though nobody else does. When confronted, Arthur admits to the subway killings. Murray and the audience gradually realize that Arthur is not joking. Arthur argues that the audience only cares about the victims because Thomas Wayne spoke up for them, while someone like Arthur would be ignored and mistreated. Both Murray and the audience become increasingly upset with Arthur, and so does he. Murray scolds Arthur, leading Arthur to snap and share another joke with a gleeful smile on his face. Murray tries to stop him but ends up calling for the police after Arthur's outburst. An enraged Arthur then shouts,
"Get what you fucking deserve!"
before shooting Murray in front of everyone. The audience flees in fear, and the news of the murder spreads quickly. For the first time in his life, Arthur genuinely laughs. Gotham is currently experiencing a situation where angry citizens, dressed as clowns, are causing chaos due to what Arthur did. The Wayne family exits a movie theater and is met with disorder in the streets. Thomas guides his wife Martha and son Bruce into an alley to seek safety, but they are pursued by a clown who delivers a threatening message to Thomas, referencing a joke Arthur made on the Murray Franklin show. Tragically, the clown shoots and kills Thomas and Martha in front of Bruce. Meanwhile, Arthur has been arrested and is being transported by the police. While looking out the window, Arthur laughs happily at the sight of the destruction and chaos he has caused. Suddenly, the clowns from an ambulance crash into the vehicle, eliminating the officers and freeing Arthur, who is injured and unconscious. Upon regaining consciousness, Arthur finds himself surrounded by a group of masked mobsters who are cheering him on. The rioters encourage Arthur as he stands on a car, basking in their admiration, which he has always craved. He dances to their applause before noticing his nose is bleeding heavily. Arthur smears the blood on his upper lip and grins before standing before them, elevated like a deity. After a period of time, Arthur finds himself confined in Arkham Asylum. He chuckles while recounting an anecdote and envisions a youthful Bruce looking down on his deceased parents in the alley. Understanding that he has somewhat mirrored Bruce's experiences, Arthur continues to laugh, finding the situation amusing. He encounters a fresh social worker and expresses a desire to share a joke with her, although he anticipates she won't understand it. Shortly after, Arthur exits the room, leaving a path of bloody footprints in his wake as he is pursued by attendants.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're a fan of our channel, be sure to check out our other videos.